Hello and welcome to Don't Knock It Down. Today we're talking about The Old, starring M. Night Shyamalan and directed and produced by M. Night Shyamalan. He was in the movie. You said he was in the movie. You said he drove the lorry.
I think he drove them to the beach.
So this is going to be spoiler heavy because I don't really know how else to handle this.
Well, we don't have to tell the whole ending. We can not tell the. Why don't we try to not tell the ending of the movie?
But then it's gonna be like, how will they get out of this predicament? Like it's gonna be like,
okay, well, why don't we just start talking
this is
about
almost
it?
sponsored by. Okay, so it starts out.
What year is this? 2021?
Probably 2021. So first things off, it was not as. I feel like it got like a lot of cynical, like 2.5 star out of 5 reviews, just because like it's.
It wasn't like Birdemic bad or like The Room or something like that.
No. It felt like seeing a movie in the theater at the mall versus seeing a movie at the fucking cinema.
Hotel Van Driver, he was.
Hotel Van Driver. Night Shyamalan. So yeah, mostly the cast was complete unknowns except the one girl from the Vitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the best way to describe it is like when we see movies around here, we see them at like little single screen movie theaters. And this is not a single screen movie theater kind of movie. This is something you see at the West Manchester Mall or like at the Regal on the south side of York. This is like, I think maybe this is like a movie for the masses. And I think during COVID, I think that's not what people want to deal with. Unless you're really stupid and you like comic book movies.
It wasn't. It was scary in parts, but I feel like it wasn't like horror scary. It was just like the passage of time will harm you. Scary.
Yeah.
Because everybody is aging rapidly, and it's like various characters have different illnesses that are just like progressing at a fast speed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be one of those like 60-year-old ladies with like a long braid of like silver hair. And I'm going to be like, hey, do you kids want some drugs? Which is not true because I don't know what drugs are.
At first, they're like, the adults are fine. The kids are the ones who are unwell.
The kids are the ones that are ruining everything.
Well, no, they didn't say that. So, okay, so let's start at the beginning. So, this family, it's like a married couple and their kids.
A fairly well-to-do family, it seems.
Guy and what's her name? Oh my god, I already forgot her name. Cristelia.
She scans Scandinavian, and I don't. Pris something.
Hang on. Let me see what's going on in this movie.
You're gonna want that. You're gonna want the Wikipedia page open for that.
Yeah. So the couple, Guy and Priska Kappa.
Priska.
And they're going through a divorce that they're like trying to hide from the kids, but the kids know because they're yelling about it. They're like, "We're getting divorced! Don't tell the children."
Yeah, the first like half hour of the movie or whatever is basically the White Lotus. And then,
yeah,
no, I'm just joking.
It feels a little bit that way.
It is. It's a little weird because they're like a well-to-do family, but it's also like, oh, I won a sweepstakes in a magazine or some shit. So it's like, which one is it? Are you rich enough to go on this vacation, or did you fall ass backwards into it?
It doesn't seem like wealthy people would do a sweepstakes vacation. It's like seems sketchy, but whatever. So they go on this vacation, and then the couple is getting divorced. And then the Priska has like a tumor.
Boy, oh boy, does she have a tumor.
Well, they say it's a benign tumor.
Yeah,
dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Or so they were told by the doctor at that point. Anyway, so they're like, let's take one last vacation with the kids before we get divorced.
which is a
whatever.
really weird like
Sentiment.
we wouldn't take one last vacation
all together.
Yeah, but we would have to figure out how to put like Raya in like a travel carrier and put her on a plane. Like that the logic there sucks.
This movie is basically advocating for divorce because if they had just gotten divorced instead of going on this stupid vacation to this goddamn beach that makes you old real fast, they would have never ended up on this stupid beach if they had just gotten divorced to begin with. And they weren't like, let's take one last vacation.
Plot twist that we just dropped: the beach makes you age real fast.
Yeah, hence the name Old. And they realize it because it's easier to notice in children. So the kids are getting older and older. The kids go from being 6 to like
11, I think it is.
11, and then they're like adults.
Well, the daughter was older.
Then they're like stepping and giving birth, and there's so much that happens.
Yeah.
So much plot that happens. Well, first, I mean, basically, they get taken to this like sketchy, secluded beach. And they're like, hey, we only tell our special guests about the special beach.
And like the gate to the special beach just said nature preserve. And I'm like, that's kind of lowballing it if you're trying to keep like Jane and Johnny Rando off this beach. I don't know.
They're like, it's the special secluded beach. It's for special guests only. And
it's for special guests we want to die really quickly.
And it's surrounded by these tall rocks that you can't even climb without dying.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll pick you up, call us, or we'll come at 5 or something. Like, it's already sketchy at the beginning. He's like, yeah, I guess call us, or I'll just show up at 5, whatever's better.
I would think if I were in a movie and the director of the movie is like, oh, we're going to drive you to some like secret party, I would be like, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, anytime somebody's like, we're taking you to the special part of this, and I don't know. And then they keep trying to escape the beach once they realize based on the children, but also based on like tumors progressing and various medical conditions progressing.
Yeah.
And an elderly lady dies and a dog dies and there's a lot of death. Most of the cast dies, I mean. Everybody just keeps dying.
But you're not going to do spoilers.
Well, I just said I wasn't going to explain what the ending is, but it's a horror movie. People die.
I don't know if it's a horror movie. It's a thriller.
It's a thriller. Yeah, it's a thriller.
It's a thriller more in the vein of a parasite or a dragon tattoo.
A lot of the actors are not that good.
Yeah, there's
very
like
deadpan.
I said, there was like no one. I did not recognize any of these people.
There was a lot of deadpan, kind of like, we are aging now.
Yeah.
We will all die soon on this beach.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the original couple that was going to get separated and everything, they're like, it's so nice out here on this beach that we're dying on.
Yeah.
They have some peaceful moments.
I think sometimes it helps to chill out. Nugget for thought.
At the beginning of the movie, when they're in the car, she's like, the mom is like, you should cherish these moments because life goes by so fast or whatever. It was like, holy shit, foreshadowing.
Life comes at you fast, or what's that company?
At the speed of 1 year per 30 minutes, as it turns out. They do the calculations and they're like, perchance every hour, 2 years of our lives pass.
What was the hemophiliac guy's name? Brendan?
Oh my god, it was like Mid-Sized Sedan or something like that.
Mid-Sized Sedan was his like stage name, but he was pretty
good.
Yeah, he kind of like probably the best at acting and also probably the best at keeping his shit together.
Yeah, a lot of the other people, that was Mid-Sized Sedan.
They make him seem like Mr. Sinister in the background in an early scene that kind of it cuts to early on.
That was whatchamacallit, red herring, I feel like. It was
absolutely a red herring.
Because he is like hooking up with this girl or whatever, and then she has MS, like she has a condition. So
Well, yeah, he kind of like,
I think they were on the beach, so the condition must have accelerated, and that's why she died.
yeah.
So yeah, everybody's conditions are accelerating, everybody's dying. It's just kind of depressing in the way like life is depressing. Like people just die over time.
There is one thing that kind of threw me. Uh, they have a lot of food in foil bags.
Yeah, for some reason they're like, we're leaving you guys here to die on this beach, but here's a whole bunch of food, and they leave them with so much pasta salad or whatever.
Well, they wouldn't get like a lifetime in, based on what we know from the ending. You know what I mean? So like they can't just like keel over in. I feel like there's a certain amount of panic someone has if they're like on a beach for 9 hours and there's no food, because they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna eat the sand, I'm gonna eat this water, I'm gonna freak out. You know what I mean? Like, but if you have like enough supplies to last for 24 hours or whatever, you're not gonna think that much about it. The jig is not up, you know.
Yeah, well, they left them with so much food, and they were like, why are you leaving us so much food? This is too much for a couple of hours. And they're like, little do you know, this beach was going to be all you'll see of life.
There is, I will say, the one child opens up one of the food bags and it's full of that like green spiral pasta that you get from the salad bar at like any grocery store. And like, man, I love that kind of pasta. I think it's really nice when you can have a pasta that's just pasta and oil. So he's eating it by the handful, and I'm like, I get that.
All in all, they lose like 40 years of life on this beach or something like that.
You're all focused on the aging, and I'm like, how about that pasta?
Well, what is confusing is that everything on the beach is disintegrating. Like the cells are aging at a rapid speed, but the food isn't.
The
It's
food
like
is not
spoiled.
aging, but the food is all in these foil bags. So I'm like, well, then you make a foil bag suit.
Maybe something about the foil keeps the cells from aging at a rapid rate. Oh my
So
god.
basically, when we go to the beach from now on, we're gonna take a thing of Reynolds wrap foil just in case. We can
I
make
think
mummies out of each other and just fucking run out of there.
I think if they had just put on enough sunscreen, they would have been fine on this beach. The real lesson is don't forget sunscreen
Yeah.
when you go to the beach. I mean, this movie bummed me out.
It's a bum out. I
It's a
mean,
bummer of a movie. Because it's like, oh, here's everyone you love. Watch people die one by one. So it is like life accelerated. It's like life coming at you fast.
it's the thing where it's like, oh, if I'm immortal, I have to watch everyone kick off. Like that's. I mean, it definitely seems like. I think it's like a simple idea for a film, but it's like enacting it.
And then the mom says at one point, I'm sorry that we're on this beach together, but like when she's killing the guy who had schizophrenia who kept killing other people, she's like, I'm sorry that we ended up on this beach together. Like,
Yeah.
that cracked us up. I don't know. It was just very like, sorry we're here. Sorry I have to kill you. I don't know. There's a lot of sad and sentimental and kind of beautiful moments. I mean, honestly, the cinematography is really well done.
Yeah, there's this instant like when the kids are being kids, the camera kind of streaks forward rapidly and it's very like loose. It's very like I guess it's a handheld camera. And there's a part near the end where it does that again too when they're doing sandcastles, where it turns into like handheld camera real quick and it was kind of swooping around. It reminds me of some of those like the kaiju shots where it's like it takes a quick like zoom into something that's flying through the air, but it's like kind of blurry. That kind of rapid movement.
I do feel bad for the kids too because when I was 6, I mean, I'm not ready to be 40 right now. These kids are like 6, but then they're like whatever, and they're like 40.
And it is a little.
I'm not ready to be. I'm still 30.
The 6-year-old should not have been that sharp or witty or whatever by the end, because it might as well be fucking Mr. Soames. Like, he should have been like Goo Goo Gaga. I'm an adult, and like he had the button down shirt. It's like the button down shirt should have been off by one button and everything crooked. Like, I don't know. It's a little weird that like an old 6-year-old is going to be like, well, we did this and we did that, and here's the like, no.
Maybe he was just mature for his age. By the end, he's real mature for his age.
Gross.
I don't know. What a movie. It was an experience. There were people who had illnesses, got worse very quickly. We lost a lot of time on this beach. And every time they tried to run away, like, certain ways, they would, like, black out and end up where they started out. Which reminds me of Palm Springs, which is, like, a much more fun version of this movie.
Yeah, go watch Palm Springs.
It's probably better. I mean, this movie wasn't bad. It wasn't, like, schlock, but it was very, like, slow and sad. It was just like, oh, heart disease. Fucking sucks.
I don't think anyone in the movie had heart disease.
No, the elderly lady at the beginning, I think.
Oh, well, I mean, she like spent like 5 seconds there and cashed out. But
yeah, I
mean, what, like, think of all the like the banal things they could have sent people there for. Like, oh, this 50-year-old man has gingivitis.
I feel like once the ending happens, it does kind of make sense why things are happening. I feel like they really try hard to have a justification for the rest of it, whereas most horror movies are just like some guys just like running around with a chainsaw and stabbing people, and maybe there's a backstory, but maybe there's not. You don't really know that one. You don't know why necessarily.
I feel like the typical M. Night Shyamalan movie would have ended with an escape and then the credits. This kind of keeps pushing and showing a little bit of the aftermath, but then it kind of cuts to one scene too far, and I'm like, how many endings does this have?
There were like 3 endings.
Yeah, it just kind of kept going up and then up and then up and then like, okay, we don't need this last one. This is like set dressing.
It was almost 2 hours.
The movie's over and you're dressing the set. Calm down.
Everything happens so fast, but so slow at the same time. I'm very high for this movie.
Everything happens so much.
Time is fucked up. It's weird to watch this movie high, which already fucks up your sense of time, and having ADD fucks up your sense of time. And then they're like, we're all a lot older now. And I'm like, wait, is this real or... I don't know.
It's a movie.
Just high.
Having depression fucks up your sense of time, and
that's also true.
Sometimes when you're depressed, just do your best to just like hug, get some hugging in.
It's sweet when they're like dying. The couple on the beach is dying, and sorry, spoilers again. And like
the one lady is like obsessed with Giuseppe. And I'm like, I wonder if that's just some sort of like late in life realization that he was the one that got away. That I thought that in itself was clever. Also, there's this implication that she's had a lot of plastic surgery because basically her face kind of remains the same as she ages, and then everything else just kind of deteriorates.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was like her makeup was a little runny, but her face still looked like it did in pretty much the beginning. It's just like the makeup looked like she was like crying a lot.
Okay, but if like 40 years passed, how is her makeup just a little runny? I don't understand.
Well,
like things don't move at the same pace. Like the food is good for a long time, but then bodies are just deteriorating left and right.
There is. I mean, there is X amount of supernatural garbage.
Yeah, it does feel like the beach is kind of magical. And I feel like they try to have a scientific explanation. They're like, oh, the minerals in the rocks make your cells age at an accelerated rate. Like, I feel like they put in a few sciencey sounding words into it to be like, the beach makes you old for scientific reasons. But it doesn't actually make sense because they were just saying minerals and rocks
But I think
accelerate your aging, and that's not a thing that exists.
I always
at
feel like we
all.
should just just do the ending thing and just tag this with spoilers or something. It's a movie that's been out for like a year and a half, probably.
That's true. Okay, fine. Let's just tag it with
Okay.
spoilers.
So everyone dies except the two children who are now like 40 or 50 or whatever.
40-something years old.
There is a small child in the lobby of the hotel room that befriends the younger boy who is no longer young by the end of the movie, and they come up with
middle-aged by the end of the movie.
He comes up with secret codes. And the big dumb MacGuffin is like, he's like, yeah, he gave me a second letter and I never deciphered it. And then, in the last fucking 10 minutes of the movie, he deciphers it.
And it's like the way to escape from the fucking beach.
Yeah. Which is just like a hole through like the coral reef. And so they swim through that.
Almost drown.
Yeah, there's like an implication that they die because the entire time they're watched by cameras. That was the most interesting. Is like watching the guy be like, "Oh, well, they're dead." Like, there's
he was just like, trial 73 has been completed now, or whatever.
Yeah, I almost feel like they should have made 2 movies, and they should have had one from like the scientist perspective or something, and something's going on, like not in like a sympathetic way, but like, oh, I'm sure there would have been like an office romance or something that like made a side plot or something. Anyway, so it turns out that there's this big science corporation, and the idea is because they're aging at a rapid rate, they can dose them with medicines and see how the medicines work in the long term.
So they're doing like a study on the lifelong effects of this medication, but they're doing it in one day. So they're like, yeah, some people are, we're killing some people, but in the long run, we're saving millions, even billions lives. And it's really weird because it's like the train problem or whatever. It's
trolley problem. Yeah.
The trolley problem. It's like this ethical experiment where they're like, yeah, some people died on this beach, but it's for the greater good. And they really make it sound convincing, like it's for the greater good. And then they're like, what about my mom and dad?
Does the Wikipedia page say anything about M. Night Shyamalan watching The Good Place and then suddenly getting like the spark for this movie? And because that would be funny.
But it is very like trolley problem. They're like, oh, because of this one medication, like so many millions of lives can be saved, like the seizure medication.
Well, the example they give is they cure epilepsy because this one lady lasts 8.5 hours without a seizure, so they figure that's like 16 years.
Yeah.
So it's basically an epilepsy medication that someone has to take once every 15 years, and they'll never have a seizure again. Which is like, okay, I get the logic there.
Oh yeah, so each hour is 2 years, or each half hour is 1 year. They just determine at some point. They do the math.
Yeah,
because they're like,
you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. So they're there for like a day or whatever, a day and a half. So that's why the kids age like 30-something, 40 years.
Like gangbusters.
As someone who will be 40 in a few years, I feel for these children.
I'll be 40 in a fucking week. I'll be 40 in 53 weeks. Shut up. You don't know what 40...
Not in a week. You're turning 39, right?
I'm turning, yeah. So like in 52 weeks, I'm 40.
In a year.
Which like, I don't know. The 30s, what they don't tell you is that the 30s are pretty chill. I'm assuming the 40s are where the 40s are where like the fucking, it's where the money really rolls in. No, I'm kidding.
Well, generally speaking, for women, sexual peak is like in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, so like I biffed that.
No, there's like things to look forward to.
Oh yeah, I mean, theoretically there's things to look forward to if I'm being optimistic, but let's calm down there.
Well, men sexually peak in their like 20s, and women sexually peak in like late 30s, early 40s or something like that.
This is why you have to wait to transition in your late 20s. That way you get both peaks.
You get every
Cha-ching. Peak. But yeah, so like I said, like typically the movie would end with them like escaping and maybe the guy being like, oh, that's the end of trial 73. But the two aged children wind up back at the hotel and they're like, yo, the jig is up. And
they find the police officer. They're like,
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
fucking
corny.
stupid.
A cab.
A
A
cab.
cab. But they find the cop and they're like, arrest these evil scientists or
While they're
whatever.
trying to get security together to throw the two elderly children out of the building, the cop is like already on the phone being like, okay, these people are missing, these people are missing, these people are missing, this is fucked. So um they also knock. Oh, when people arrive on the island, they're given cocktails immediately, and I was like, those cocktails are shady. I called that at least.
Yeah, they end up being like spiked with the pharmaceutical drugs that they're giving them for the study. This is a very unethical study. This is like highly illegal. And then they're like, oh, we're gonna wipe all their like cell phone devices and their computers and stuff. It's
Yeah,
like
but to be
super
fair, like I
sketchy.
mean, I'm talking about how like it wouldn't take much for me to kill a motherfucker with a knife. Like sometimes you just gotta. Um, but then yeah, then it cuts to another ending where it's like them with the police officer in the helicopter, and he's like, "Yeah, we got him for this or that," and then like the little boy, the 6-year-old boy who is now 40 something, cracks some joke or something. Doesn't he say something?
Yeah.
He's like, "That's what I call getting old." I don't know.
I don't know. Like he says they say like, how's your aunt doing?
Oh
And
yeah,
he's
he's
like,
like,
well, how would you feel if a 50-year-old called you and said like, I'm your 6-year-old nephew or whatever?
yeah. I would be like, buddy, I'm blazing deep. No, also there was one little touch that I liked a lot. Like pretty much the last shot of the movie is this helicopter flying away, and there is like a like fabricated there's like a flag for a country that doesn't exist on the side of the helicopter.
What it reminds me of is this Russian children's story called The Tale of Lost Time. And this is a story about these two little boys and two little girls who get like a spell cast upon them by like two witches and two like guy boy witches, whatever, warlocks. I don't know. I forget how they word it. Anyone can be a witch, really, of any gender, is the lesson learned. But yeah, these like four evil spellcasters cast the spells, and all the children are like seniors, and they try to go to like their parents' house, and they're like, "Mom, I'm your child," but it's like, "Go away, old person. I don't know who you are." So the parents like chase away their own kids because they're like, "I don't know who this is pretending to be my child. This is somebody peculiar." Somebody, somebody's doing something shady.
And then like give it another day, and the parents like, our kids never came home. Wait a minute, boing.
Well, no, I think the evil four become like take the children's bodies or whatever. So they're like
Oh,
they take the place of the children,
okay.
and
That-
they it's like a body swap thing.
That's kind of, I guess that makes sense. Eye for an eye and all
And the
that.
kids all find each other because they're like, look, there's an elderly person crying and playing with a ball on the ground. It's probably one of
Ugh,
us.
that's depressing. Something about that is like deeply gross. I don't know. I
It's
think I
one of
remember you
us.
telling me about this one.
Yeah. And they all find each other, and then they all end up beating the like evil spellcasters and getting the time back. They like beat the spell. I forget how, but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
What was the one there was one, like I kept practicing the name because I kept getting it wrong. It was like Cache Bismirtne, or what was it? Cache the something.
Oh, Cache Bismerne.
Yeah, I said it right.
Yeah, you did.
Huh?
You were really close. Well, I think you were really close.
Oh no, I was like when you put the self-serve register at the grocery store in Spanish, and I'm like, I shall pay using Effectivo. Like that was how I just spoke my Russian, but I got it right.
Cache Bismerne.
Yeah, Cache
Yeah,
Bismirtne.
he's the deathless Cache.
Yeah. A week
Yeah.
ago today,
He was also
I
very
found
old.
out that thumb drive in Yiddish is Schlüsseldisk.
It sounds so much more inappropriate than what it actually is.
You're thinking of Schlüsseldick, which is thumb dick. No, that doesn't.
That's
Oh,
not
God.
a thing. Oh God.
we should just cut. We should just cut this. I think we're pretty much.
I think we've said enough. All right. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, and let's see you in a year and a half.
No, before that.
Before that.